Okay, here we are for something really short. Hopefully, I can actually carry things out correctly. And I already forgot to enlarge the mouse cursor, so I'll take care of that in a second. But here we go. All I did was look away for a few seconds. And then we resume, I guess, fittingly, since it's the end of the year now. Just like at the start of this year, we resume another phase of literally everything is happening. Come on, you can load. Switch that, dismiss that. No one's going to be here because it's the middle of the day, but I don't care. This is the best time for me to do this anyway, so that's when we're doing it. We go over here, retweet adoption needs for cats, and also the cat sanctuary in Syria, which is located in Aleppo, is now safe after everything, since the city was liberated with effectively zero fighting. The regime forces and the Russian forces just gave up and left. So after all this time being on the front lines of a conflict, the cat sanctuary in Syria is safe. But anyways, going into the stuff, and we're going to go to this time. We will be going to Google Earth later as well. Do we have anybody? No. Well, that is too bad. Anyways, well, there's four. So everyone's most likely going to be watching this after the fact. Let me take a sip of water, and then we're going to run through everything. I'm going to try to make this maybe 20 or 25 minutes. So, you guys remember the last stream, which was just a few days ago? More recent updates were Hezbollah surprisingly agreed to a ceasefire. That one was really unexpected. Nothing with Hamas yet, but Hezbollah has actually agreed to a ceasefire. So Israel had started redirecting even more of their force, primarily airstrikes, but some cross border artillery strikes, towards attacking the Islamic resistance group in Syria, and also just straight up attacking the Syrian military itself. I don't think I can get rid of the one up here. But at the same time, all of a sudden, like a few hours after I stopped that last stream, the rebels in the north just suddenly blitzed across the front lines and started overrunning everything. So this green line here and this one here is that's where the front line was 3 days ago. So they just surged through, overran everything. They freed Aleppo. They're pushing in here, and they've already started going all the way down here. And stop! I did not click on things. Do not tell me I clicked on things when I did not click on things. Can I get rid of? Can I put this aside? I can't apparently. So then they have now just been punching south over the last 24 hours. They have just punched straight south, and someone there has to be a way to put this aside. Well, that just zooms. Can't get rid of the top ads either. Darn. So they've just been punching south, and as of the latest update, they went past. Is that Hama? Okay, the map is not updated properly. They've already got Hama. The Syrian and Russian forces there just kind of gave up. As of most recently, they are just around or north of Al Rassan, and some are pushing east towards Salamia. So a decent chunk of what the government actually controls is going to get cut off over here. And there's primarily a lot of the Russian forces are primarily over here as well. They have, did I get the, no, I did not get the flight radar tracking thing, it looks like. But they are IL-76s, which is their poor man's 20 years predated equivalent of the C-17, or I guess it would be more closer to a C-5. But they are already pulling out. Get out of my face! They're already pulling out. They've been starting to evacuate stuff and people. The general who was in charge of Russian forces in Syria has been fired. Not that, like, they really could have done anything because Russia abroad is not that well stocked anymore because everything has been getting thrown into Ukraine. The only thing they really still have there are probably air defense systems around their missiles or around their whatever bases that they're at. So they pushed down, rebels have pushed down to here, and thus are going to cut this whole area off, which is probably going to compel the Russian forces to further evacuate. Assad fled from Damascus up to Russia to beg Putin for help in person. Putin promised that he's going to send everything he can, which is going to comprise of not really that much, because Russia doesn't really have that much more it can throw. And over here, the Kurdish forces are about to push this way, and there's not a lot of defensive setup out here by the Syrian military once they push past the initial defensive line. So there's a fair chance that this is going to just fold in, and all the guys that are kind of stuck up here are probably considering fleeing south as well, which means there is a fair chance that the northern two-thirds of the country could just cave in and leave Assad with this down here. If he can actually solidify this down here, if his military actually cares enough to still fight for him in the light of it looking like everything is collapsing, because things for them won't end too well if the general population finally gets control over their lives and the guys down here look like they still willingly stuck with Assad to the bitter end after the hundreds of thousands of people that he's killed won't exactly look that great for those who chose to still defend him up until the last minute. So there's questionability about how well of a last defense could potentially be put up there, but they could find it in themselves to fight for him to the death, and Russia could always surprise everyone and bring out their army of UFOs and space lasers and turn the tide of battle. But all they were able to do up to this point, they did bomb some rebel positions. The Russian Air Force did, because the Syrian Air Force doesn't really exist at this point. They did bomb some rebel positions, but then, of course, they immediately just started bombing people and, homes and apartment complexes, because what else are you going to do? So, it's almost like you would wonder if the Syrian Air Force, what bits of it exist, and the Russian Air Forces in Syria had spent all of the munitions that they've dropped and bombed with on actually hitting the rebels instead of just massacring people. Just like how you wonder, what if Russia and the almost five had sent the almost 5,000 cruise missiles they fired into Ukraine at this point What if they'd use those on actually hitting the Ukrainian military instead of hitting, playgrounds and hospitals? It's almost like that might have made a huge difference in the war for them. But for some reason, they're just addicted to the whole mass death massacre thing. So that is currently ongoing. Like I said, they're down at Al Rasan, and there's the there have been videos and stuff coming out of Homs already of the Syrian forces and whatever Russian forces are around already fleeing. So they're probably going to push through Homs this weekend potentially. And in the area they've overtaken have been several military bases already. So the rebels have already seized like actual equipment, tanks, BMPs, other things, rocket artillery, what have you. And they've overrun an actual Syrian Air Force base. So, you know, Syria is now starting to lose some part of its already non existent Air Force, but the point still stands. So that is ongoing. And Assad recently has, over the last couple hours, he's been in calls with Iraq and with the UAE, potentially begging Iraq to try to save him, which they're not going to do. And in talks with the UAE, guarantee you that's asking them if he can flee to Dubai if everything falls apart. If they'll actually like grant him asylum there and not let him be arrested under ICC warrants. So the same thing that Lukashenko is probably intending as well. Actually, once Putin is no longer there to prop him up, because he's made a whole bunch of weird videos, effectively like 30-second, videos that would be fitting of TikTok. He's been making weird TikToks over the last couple of years about how beautiful and nice Dubai is and how he's always thought of retiring there. So, I'm taking that as a subliminal signal that, that's his aim at least. And now that Assad is suddenly talking to the UAE, I'm assuming that's now his aim as well, just in a much more immediate sense, because this is falling apart, and it's going to fall apart much quicker once the Kurds start attacking from this angle as well. As if, the rebels couldn't be contained here in just like this one quarter, then not really any assurance that things are going to hold up over here either. So that's been going on there. And then in Sakartvelo, which everybody calls Georgia, will you stop this stupid projects thing? How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? Google Earth. There. Okay. So in Sakartvelo, uh, they are going for another uprising. I'm hoping they're actually gonna like commit to it this time, because eventually they backed down last time. Syria, Syria, Syria. Here's today. Where's the other days? Oh yeah, yesterday, last night, they actually like committed harder than previously in Tbilisi, and they actually engaged the police and started fighting with them and like beating the crap out of them and actually fighting back. And they've started busting up and breaking into the government buildings around the capital. So taking that as a signal, maybe they're like fully committed to it this time. Whereas last time they had the numbers and it looked like it, and they fought with the police a little bit, but then they gave up. So maybe they're committed to it this time, but going to be cautious with that because I was hopeful the Pakistani people were about to overthrow their military junta a couple of days ago, but Then, after some clashes, they kind of dispersed and gave up again. So, the only one so far this year who has done a mass overthrow of an oppressive regime has been Bangladesh. They committed wholesale. They fought for 3 straight weeks, and eventually the government fled. So, kind of hoping everyone else who keeps like starting uprisings against any form of oppressive regime will actually commit to it. Uh, Syria, it's actual like civil war. So they're already committed, and given how fast they're willingly pushing, looks like they have no intention of stopping here. Granted, there's going to be issues afterwards. However, for the time being, the different rebel factions have all clearly agreed on coordination and combined, general overthrow of the actual Syrian government forces. So that is ongoing for the moment. But in Sakartvelo, I'm waiting to see whether that goes any further. Anybody show up? Uh, it's important for a lot of people to answer that question. For the U.S., it's primarily proximity to Israel and proximity to Iraq, and the like ability through a hang down there to cause further problems. For Russia, it's one of the only places where Russia has actual like overseas foreign military sites that they can pretend to be a superpower with and power project from. Granted, they don't really have that much to do so with. That's one of their only sites. Like the only other real one they have is in Tajikistan. Uh, they have they have like Wagner Group and other PMCs in Libya and in like the Central African Republic, but in terms of the Russian actual like military, they don't really have anything else. Syria is one of the only chips they still have on the table to like say, hey, look, we have overseas bases too. We're totally still a superpower. So they're not interested in losing that. And also, Assad is one of the, you know, countries that is pro Russia. So if they lose him, that's, a bad look. And it is also important to Turkey, who has actually been the primary back- backer of this whole movement and had moved their own forces in, including long range artillery, to actually support the rebel advance. Had the rebel advance actually like run in to actual resistance and fighting from the Syrian forces, then the Turks were going to back it up. However, that's not what happened because the Syrian military, just collapsed on contact. So Turkey didn't even have to. They might further do so with like airstrikes as everything moves further south because Turkey wants Assad gone. Because if Assad goes and Turkey, since they are the primary backers of the rebels, if Turkey is, seen by the rebels as the ones who effectively put them in power, then Syria moves from being a some whatever degree of Russian puppet state over to being some degree of Turkish puppet state. However far Turkey wants to actually exercise that, but even at a like 0% exercising of it for now, it would still leave Syria in like their the grateful to Turkey back pocket, so to speak. That Turkey could call on that, like you owe us favors at some point in the future, since Turkey wants to be. I mean, Erdogan has like constantly, made like just flat out public statements about neo Ottoman Empire crap. So Turkey wants to renew its like dominant position of control over the Middle East. predominantly not like the former Ottoman Empire stuff in all directions, predominantly just like Arabia and the Persian Gulf area, because that's, where half of the world's oil supply comes from. So kind of understandable in that regard. But that's why they are constantly also backing every like anti-Iranian thing as well, because if Iran falls apart, which it already is going to eventually, they've kind of sealed that fate, then that knocks another player out and leaves only Turkey, Israel, and Saudi Arabia as the major powers of the Middle East. And Turkey knows Israel is not going anywhere because the U.S. is behind Israel, so there is no actually getting rid of that. But they would be fine with that since Israel is not interested in the surrounding Middle East in the same way Turkey is. And Saudi Arabia is a pretend power, anyways, since their power comes from all the weapons and toys that they buy from us with their oil money, but they have not really proven themselves militarily beyond their ability to bomb hospitals in Yemen. So uh, Turkey doesn't exactly see them as like a legitimate competitor or legitimate threat. But Turkey wants Assad out so that Syria is essentially in their back pocket. As that continues to expand Turkey's general control and influence, as Azerbaijan is already effectively in their back pocket, that would put Syria in there as well and would effectively guarantee Turkey a guaranteed supply from what bit of Syria's oil production is remaining, which is currently around 100,000 barrels per day, but could be restored maybe up to 200,000. And that would be guaranteed to effectively go to Turkey, since Syria's oil consumption is non existent for the most part, since, the country obviously has economically imploded since the civil war started in 2011. So that's 200,000 barrels per day that would be guaranteed to Turkey on top of the 100,000 barrels per day they produce domestically, and on top of the roughly roughly 400,000 barrels per day they get from Azerbaijan. So that's 700,000 barrels per day of guaranteed supply out of their current domestic consumption levels of 1.2 million. So they're doing what they can to try to make sure they get a also, apart from just wanting the, control expansion, they also want to make sure they have further guaranteed energy security, since the whole supply from Russia angle is in future jeopardy over the coming years, not immediately, but over the coming years as things continue to unravel, even outside of a like implosion upon not succeeding at Ukraine. Russia's oil production is already tumbling and falling downwards as they, can't really hold it together outside of the assistance they were getting from like BP and Equinor. Where's Russia here? So like this is Russian production since 1985. Got up to 11, fell down to 6 as everything fell apart after the Soviet collapse. BP, Equinor, Exxon, and some others come in and rescue everything, rapidly bump them back up. And their major fields and stuff are declining, but expansion into some Arctic things, further Arctic stuff, gets them back up towards 11. Then COVID happens, then they come back from that, and then Ukraine invasion is this last end bit right here where they're, sloping themselves down as they can't really hold it together anymore. And they're around down to 8.9 million barrels per day at the moment. But so that's Turkey's obsession with Syria, and obviously already mentioned the others. Now there are additional things going on as well with Ukraine. There were further beaver drone swarm strikes on another oil depot in Krasnodar. I, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in Krasnodar. It might have been in Rostov, but I'm not positive. They struck some more SAM sites in Crimea since Russia moved some more of those in. And Russia's ability to get more guys to keep signing up for meat waves is continuing to dwindle. So, up to the start of this year, they boasted about the reality that they were still getting about 30,000 guys to sign up to the military each month. However, despite constantly raising the payments, we go in here. I think I put it in here. Or in here. Right, where's the graph? Or would I even recognize the graph? Because I have so many graphs. Maybe data caps? I've also forgotten what it looked like. But I can't locate that graph unless it's in. Is it still in Bandicam for some reason? No, Bandicam is here. Is it down here? No. Yes, no. Is it? No. Okay, I can't locate that graph at the moment. I'm gonna go back and grab that after the stream's over to make sure that I have that for future reference. But they rapidly, over the course of this year, have increased the sign-on payouts from 3 grand USD equivalent up to 40 grand, along with what I talked about in the last stream, the promise of forgiving up to $100,000 equivalent of debt for anyone who signs up to the military because they can't afford to keep upping the sign-on bonus. So they promise the debt forgiveness since they can just ignore that and not forgive the debt because, the guy's going to go die in Ukraine. So what's he going to do about it? Uh, what's his complaint going to matter? So even despite that, constantly increasing those payments from 3 grand up to 40 grand and the promise of the $100,000 debt relief, they're still going down in the number of guys who are, willing to sign up to go die in bonsai charges. So it was 30 grand a month or 30,000 dudes a month. And despite increasing the payments, all that plus the $100,000 debt forgiveness thing, they're now down to only about 20,000 guys signing up per month. And they're going at a rate of dropping 5,000 further every 5 months or so, it looks like, or about 1,000 less each month. So, by the time we get to spring, sometime in spring, it'll be only like 15,000 guys willing to sign up each month. Then by the end of summer, start of fall, which is when the internal sovereign wealth fund runs out anyways, and a lot of their equipment runs out anyways. They would be down to only 10,000 dudes willing to sign up each month. And that's assuming that Moscow keeps upping the payouts and the bonuses because, clearly if they'd kept it at only 3,000, the drop would have been much faster and probably much earlier. So they're gonna have to keep keep upping the lollipop on the end of the string to try to keep it only dropping by 1,000 volunteers per month. So that is presently ongoing as well, and I believe that is everything. I'm pretty sure that's everything, unless there was. Now I'm thinking I'm forgetting about something, but I can't exactly remember. Did I mention? Yeah, I already did the Hezbollah ceasefire last stream, anyways, but I mentioned it at the start of this one too. Uh, the Houthis did launch a few more of the few missiles that they have on hand from Iran, and they did launch those towards Israel and didn't really accomplish anything in doing so. But they're since their stuff is gradually getting airstriked out, they're now kind of mode switching into the the mentality of they might as well, use it or lose it. Plus, they're also with Hamas, mostly except for infantry underground, with Hamas mostly kind of out and Hezbollah agreeing to the ceasefire. The Houthis are like the only real actor now that Iran can still keep like pulling on strings of and telling to like keep fire stuff at Israel, keep firing stuff at Israel. But the Houthis never had that much on hand to begin with because supplying them was a lot more difficult than smuggling stuff over to Hezbollah. And Iraq has now shut down its border with Syria in light of everything that's happening. So now Iran would not actually even be able to smuggle stuff over to Hezbollah, uh, which is uh, that might have actually affected the Hezbollah's willingness to sign on to a ceasefire if they had been like preemptively notified that this was probably going to happen, or if they'd been told that this the whole rebel surge was potentially about to happen and that Iraq would most likely close the borders because of that. Granted, even if that didn't happen, all these supply convoys Iran sent across North Iraq into Syria were getting airstriked anyways. So, the stuff still wouldn't make it to Hezbollah regardless. But they haven't lost that much manpower, but they have had like 2/3 or 3/4 of their like rocket and missile arsenal taken out in airstrikes over the last 6 months or so. So that's the main factor that's driven Hezbollah to this point, since they kind of lost their capacity to actually carry things out, and their entire leadership has been decimated. And every time it tries to reconstitute itself, whoever gets selected to be the new leadership gets killed as well. And oh yeah, I forgot. Uh, no latest news yet. I'll obviously check as soon as this is over. But there was gunfire and fighting in Damascus itself. So there might be a potential coup attempt going on. However, uh, I wouldn't put like chips or anything on that just yet. Also, the part of the reason for like, no proper organization against everything that's happening and sheer utter incompetence in the Syrian military has been that Assad, mega Stalin his military in that he cleansed, purged, killed anyone with any inkling of higher brain function in his military command staff, because people with higher brain function might potentially be capable of like organizing something against you and seizing power from you. And the downside of that, of it, it does guarantee you stay in power for a little bit, but should anything happen militarily, it kind of guarantees that you have a completely non-functioning military apparatus, which is, the situation that he's clearly found himself in. All right, that is going to be it for the sum up for all of this. I probably forgot some stuff. If I did, I'll catch it next time. But anyways, let me check here. Blah blah blah. Here we go again. Another one of these. Oh no, I have to go in here. Another one of these dudes' alt accounts. And here goes another one. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. It's the CIA. Blah blah blah. America bad. In reality, unlike you guys, I'm the only one who actually says everyone bad and actually means it when I say that. And I love how I'll like actually even say that, this is still going to be like not that great and interesting in the aftermath of Assad falling if he actually gets pushed out, because then there's going to be issues between all the rebel factions, and then people are still probably going to like comment on this later about how I think that Syria is going to be like peaceful and flowery after Assad is gone or something. The same with when I talk about like oil and us like oil and energy supply issues and stuff. People come in and say that I'm saying that the world is ending when like I'm not. I literally have never said any such thing. And I'm the one constantly arguing with you guys in chats when you guys are the ones trying to tell me that the world is ending. I'm actually the one telling you that it isn't. The solar power video was the most fascinating stream of comments I've ever gotten about how me pointing out solar power's mathematical flaws was apparently translated to me saying, according to the commenters under that video, translated to me saying that humanity should just die. That's apparently what I meant by saying that solar power is not the best option and we should use other ones instead. What I actually clearly meant by that is that everybody should just suffer and die, apparently. All right, that is going to be it, unless anything else comes up in chats, any specific questions or anything. So wait for the 20-second stream delay. Wait, the last one that came up a few streams ago with someone saying that Ukraine's about to collapse any minute now. Like, uh, everyone's been commenting to me for 3 straight years. The last guy who came in like spamming stuff like that. For one, he spammed 5 comments in 2 seconds. So, very human, very much a human. And his name, like his commenter name was literally like Anton or Vladimir 12345. So again, with the like Russia is no longer the Soviet Union. It sucks at lying. It sucks at propaganda. And even those who might be like doing this stuff in the comments on their own time with their own channels or their own sock accounts also really are like low intelligence and seem to suck at like making sock accounts because I'm not sure how like subliminal or subtle you thought the name, Anton Vladimir 12345 was. It wasn't subtle. It kind of gives you away right then and there. And also, if you wanted me to like not call you a bot, spamming 5 comments in 2 seconds is the best way to like give away the fact that you're a bot account because there's humans can type pretty fast. I mean, one of the few friends I whoa, what was that? One of the few friends I actually have who unfortunately is stuck living in New York City, he can type pretty fast, but 5 comments in 2 seconds, all of which contained multiple sentences. That's you're giving yourself away there. You should take advice from the bots on Twitch that do the advertising of fake artist services, where the people running those, mostly in India, the thing about Indians is that they're actually smart. Unlike Russian bot account makers, the Indian account makers learn, and they actually like coded their bots to wait, like 20 to 30 seconds before posting each comment so that it looks like there's, a human like delay between the comment getting posted and whatever a streamer might say in response to it. So, uh, programmers who learn versus those apparently who can't. But there are plenty of Russian programmers and coders who can learn, but a lot of them kind of aren't in Russia anymore. Uh, Plenty of them had already moved to like Western Europe before this started, but a lot of them were in that group of 1.5 million who fled after it started as well. All right, we get anything else? No. All right. Then that's going to be it.